Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, January 19th, 2017. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and change. If it's gray, it must be the Gem City. And if it's Thursday, it must be Steve Wiltfong, Director of Recruiting for 24/7 Sports, checking in from the capital of the state of Indiana. Steve, how are you this fine Midwest morning?
The burbs of the capital doing great, man. Going to be in the 40s today, but I'm excited to be on and talk about the Buckeyes as the stretch run comes. There's going to be a surprise. There's going to be a name we're not talking about. There always is. We're not talking enough about. That's going to be in this class. I don't know who it is right now, but that's the fun part with Ohio State. They're going to get somebody right now that we're just not talking enough about. And we won't today, probably.
We will talk about receiver, though, with Tyjon Lindsey out of the class and now off to the Huskers. The Buckeyes have focused on adding another receiver to the class. The two names we're hearing now, Oliver Martin and James Robinson. First, what you think of both guys quickly, and then the recruiting outlook as it pertains to the Buckeyes.
Well, James Robinson's that 6'4", 190-pound, beautiful specimen, really good athlete that can stretch the field and make plays downfield. He's just not as consistent maybe as some of those elite guys, but his ceiling is as high as anybody in this class. Oliver Martin is just one of the more special athletes in this class. He's a guy that at the opening this summer finished 12th in the Nike Football The Rating competition. That's the same one that J.K. Dobbins won. And Jeffrey Okuda finished third in. Oliver Martin finished 12th. He's no slouch now when you're talking about, I think there was 120 guys there, maybe a little off there, but his score, 12th nationally. He's a guy that swims and then plays baseball, and he's a Division I recruit in both of those sports as well. It just goes to show you what kind of freak athleticism, and I don't know if this is PC correct. I don't really care. You know, obviously Oliver Martin is a white receiver, and so he's a guy that people can be skeptical on. And our industry as a whole, 24/7 Sports, Rival, Scout, ESPN has never seemed to project the white receiver, the Jordy Nelsons, and those guys were not ranked high coming out. We're going to take our swing here. Maybe this is the next Jordy Nelson type guy. He's certainly shown it athletically. Led his team to a state championship, was a baller at the opening. People struggled to check him at the Army Bowl earlier this month. So Urban Meyer going in home with Oliver Martin today. He's a guy that the Buckeyes are going to try and get in on an official visit as well. Michigan, Notre Dame, Michigan State are the main contenders for Oliver Martin right now, but Urban Meyer in home today. I know that was something that the family was excited about. They've had some dialogue with Zach Smith. So I know they're excited about the Kevin Wilson hire. I'm not by any stretch trying to say that Ohio State's in the lead group right now, but when you get them to campus, you never know.
Right on. I always, whenever I hear Urban is going in-house, I think that's a positive. Another guy that they're talking to and that Urban has gone to visit recently, a native of Ohio, Thayer Munfprd, offensive lineman. What are you hearing on Thayer?
Well, obviously the crystal ball is going Buckeyes colors right now for Thayer, the in-state offensive tackle. I'm still sitting on Kentucky for Thayer. That's because Ohio State hasn't offered yet. And I think that I don't think there's much doubt of what Thayer is as a prospect. We have him in our top 247. We think he's got a tremendous ceiling. I just think that Ohio State wants to get to know him better. So we'll see how it goes this weekend. And he could definitely leave campus with an offer on Sunday, but I'm going to wait to flip my crystal ball until he gets an offer. I do think if Ohio State offers, hell, he may commit on the spot, and I could end up being wrong. But, you know, I don't think it's 100% certainty that he's going to get a scholarship offer. So, you know, I think that there's still some things that you need to be ironed out here, and we'll see how it goes this weekend.
Yeah, definitely an interesting weekend coming up with a couple guys coming to campus. Also, you take into account that Meyer's going in-house with Martin today. So should be an interesting stretch run, maybe not as crowded with prospects as usual. But as Steve said, the last few weeks can always be interesting, and there could be a name out there we don't know about. What we do know is that the 24/7 Sports final rankings for the class of 2017 were released earlier this week. The staff, we spent a lot of time with the guys down, the national staff, and Steve spent a lot of time with the guys down at the U.S. Army game, plenty of them, so that helped. Kind of the final deal for the year. Keep in mind, there's two different things. You have the 24/7 sports rankings, which are the rankings we've come up with in-house, and then the 24/7 sports composite rankings, which combines all the major groups into one flat ranking. Steve, if you could quickly, before we go into this, just give everybody an idea of the process that 24/7 sports used to get to this point.
Well, I think with the final rankings, it was a combination of senior film, first and foremost, talking to kids' high school coaches, talking to college coaches about kids second, and then if kids were playing in the all-star settings, I think that the eyeball test and watching kids in the practice more than the games had a lot to do with their final standing as well. And then, as everyone knows right now, it nauseates some, so grab your puke bucket. And I can certainly empathize. And when we even went to this, I argued it, but it is what it is, and I'm living in the world as well. And I certainly understand why we do it this way. But it's going to, we rank our kids based on an NFL projection of where they're going to get drafted more than anything, because that is the time when our industry is judged the most, and I agree with that. So at the end of the day, I guess I agree with the way we do it, even though I certainly understand the other side of the argument. We get judged on draft day. That's the day when the mainstream media focuses on our niche media the most, and so we're trying to hit on as many draft picks as possible. So that's why our rankings are the way they are. I know that then people can point to outliers and say, well, then why in the hell do you have this person ranked with the third-round grade when he doesn't have a third-round frame? I know, man. I know, and we have those discussions ourselves. So with that, bring the heat, my brother.
Okay, so that means there were 32 five-stars because there were 32 NFL teams in the draft, so that's how they do it. Now, there was a thread started. Yeah, there was a thread started about questions about the rankings and to ask Steve. Now, before we go through this, understand that Steve is here taking bullets for a group of people. This was not just Steve's decision, so the response to this should not be acerbic towards Mr. Wiltfong. But here we go. Question 1, Wyatt Davis. How could a player who's the player of the year in a state like California drop in the rankings?
With Wyatt Davis's drop, I think it was just a deal where seeing him next to some elite guys, he's a guy that projects more as in that second wave than in the upper echelon. When Barton Simmons and guys started talking about the names on the board, and then certainly where they would go in the draft, and Wyatt projecting more as an interior guy.
Yep.
Guards don't typically go in that top 32, so I think that those are things that played a part there, but I certainly could make an argument on the flip side, so I get it.
Yeah, and I think that's accurate. I think once, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but based on the coverage and reading every single thing you guys put out and what's been written, I think once people realize that Davis and Myers are projected to guard, it has hurt them. That's just a fact. Tackles go higher, and if we're using that approach to getting the rankings, that's just.
And Wyatt Davis is the number one offensive guard in the country. He's the number one offensive guard in the country in our rankings. He's the number one offensive guard in the country in the composite rankings, and sir, he's certainly one of the better high school football players in the country. And he's a guy that if we were naming a team of starters, we would have him start at guard. We love him. Just have him at 58. That's probably a more ideal draft spot.
Next question. Pete Werner was expected to get a leap and did not get one. Any reason you know why?
Well, he still could get some movement in the position rankings. And he's a guy that can certainly make us look bad. I mean, I live near Pete. I mean, he's got tremendous upside, and he's a guy that maybe should have moved up. But he where we have him and where the industry has him is relatively the same. But yeah, he's a guy that could still have some movement in our outside linebacker rankings.
Number 3, and you had to know this was coming. During the week, the quarterbacks were all down there. Hunter Johnson ended up getting the MVP. He's going to Clemson. Tate Martell looks fantastic. He's going to Ohio State. We didn't hear as much about Tua Tagovailoa. We're going to call him Tua from now on, who was going to Alabama, yet he got the bump. Do you know why?
Well, I thought they all played well in the game, by the way, and they all had minimal snaps. And I think I was just looking for people to flash in the game, and I think that those quarterbacks, Tate Martell, Tua, Hunter Johnson, and Jake Fromm is going to Georgia, all flashed at different times why we think so highly of all of them. But at the end of the day, and Tua showed out and looked great in practice. And Tate Martell, he's such a great high school player, and he's got a chance to be such a great player at Ohio State. Just not as many guys that look like him in the league ever. He's going to have to be an outlier, a true outlier, to play in the NFL, and we have him in the top 100. I still stand by 3. Based on the way we do things, 3-star. He's a 5-star high school quarterback. I don't know if I would pick a quarterback over him to start any high school game right now. I don't think I would. He's been arguably the best high school quarterback in the country the last 3 years. I know that he fits exactly what Urban Meyer and Ohio State needs him to do, and that's all that Bucknuts fans should give a damn about. He's got a chance to be a great player at Ohio State. But as far as NFL draft, I mean, he's 5'9.5", 5'10", that's generally, you need someone to take a chance on you to go high at that size. And with Tua, that he certainly doesn't blow you away with measurables either, but he's a big, thick, good-looking kid with he's got a tremendous arm. He's a tremendous playmaker, and he's a guy that's really good too. Now for me personally, I didn't have him as a 5-star guy either. He's a guy that our director of scouting, Barton Simmons, really believes in, and Barton, I think, has got a strong track record, and so not that I don't believe in Tua. I like him. I like him a lot as well. But for me, my guy has been Hunter Johnson. I think he has the best skill set, but maybe he doesn't see the field as well as those other guys right now. So we'll see how he gets coached up at Clemson. But I think his skill set is the best in this class, and we don't have him as a 5-star.
Yeah, if you were to put 3 guys in a room and ask the NFL guys to pick off the hoof, they would take Johnson. That's just a fact. All right. This is an interesting topic, junior college. Do we expect Kendall Sheffield to get a bump? His rating right now does not reflect anything like his coming out.
Yes, absolutely. I didn't mean to cut you off, but that's one that I've been personally pushing for. And I don't know when Barton's going to finish those JUCO rankings, hopefully soon. But yes, absolutely. I think he should get a bump. And he's a guy that's going to play right away at Ohio State, along with 2 guys that we have, hopefully Bucknuts fans, we're happy about. Our number 1 and number 2 ranked corners are going to Ohio State, Okudah and Wade, and then you got Kendall Sheffield coming in as well. That's a special trio of length, size, and speed and athleticism that isn't going to be seen anywhere else in the Big Ten. Nowhere close.
No doubt.
No one close.
Yeah. All 3 of those guys, I think, would project very nicely to our NFL vibe here. Just to finish it off, the last question was, what was your personal list of Buckeyes? And kind of as the final rankings of the Buckeyes, who did you think was in need of a bump?
So I'm going to just kind of scroll through it. Okudah, no-brainer 5-star for me, top 10 player, potential top 5 draft pick when it's all said and done. Baron Browning, he's our number 1 linebacker in the country, so I think we can all agree there. Shaun Wade, he could end up being better than Okudah. I don't think he's quite the athlete, but there's more to playing football than athleticism, and so we obviously think both are great football players too. We'll see how it shakes out, but he certainly, could end up being the bell cow in the secondary. J.K. Dobbins, he's that 5-star caliber guy as well. No question in my mind, and he's enrolled early at Ohio State, and I'm stalling as I pull up where we had him, number 2 all-purpose back. Who the hell did we have number 1? Thanks for bearing with me, Bucknutters. I'm like that. It's more Kalen Laybourne. He's going to Florida State, who also tested off the charts. I could make a case for either one of those guys. Both. I can make a case for either of those guys being 5 stars. But how many 5-star running backs can you have? So we have JK in the top 50, and I'm very okay with that, especially with that's a second-round grade. Josh Myers, I believe we have as a second-round grade. Now, I'll say this about Josh Myers. He's still the best athlete in this class at the offensive line position, and I still think his ceiling is tremendously high, and I really hope that he makes us look bad and makes our original ranking look great. But we still have him in a top 2-round grade, and I like that. Tate, we've talked about at length. Fine with where we have Pryor and Brendan White. Marcus Williamson's actually a guy that everyone has as a consensus 4-star that probably projects better as a 3. He's a tremendous, but he's such a tough kid, and moves really well. And there's certainly in the college game with all those spread offenses, he's going to bring some value covering in the nickel and that standing. Chase Young, he could, we have him in the top 3. I think we have him number 3, right, in our rankings. So I don't think there's any qualms there. Wyatt Davis, we have as the number 1 guard. You can debate where we have him overall, but you can't debate where we have him from a position ranking standpoint. Trayvon Grimes is a guy that I'm comfortable where we have him. I think he does bring really good top-end speed. But as far as being a first-round pick, I don't know if he's as fluid. And we're splitting hairs here, guys. Seriously, we're splitting hairs. We have him number 72, so it's not like we think he sucks. And I recognize people have him higher than us, but we certainly like him. Haskell Garrett, I'm fine with. Kendall Sheffield, we need to bump. Amir Reep, we moved him to a 3-star. I don't think anyone could truly complain about that. I hope he proves us wrong. I don't think he's got that elite speed, those elite cover skills that the upper echelon guys have. Jalen Harris is that tremendous upside guy. So he's a guy that now Jalen Harris is a guy that could all of a sudden find himself in the first round when it's all said and done. 6'5", 210. So he'll be an interesting one to follow, but I like where we have him. Jerron Cage, I like where we have him. Pete Werner, he's the guy that I could, when he flashes, he absolutely flashes. So, yeah, could he have been a top 100 guy? Sure, but I'm not losing sleep where we have him. And then Blake Hobby, I'm gonna be honest, he's our number 1 kicker, but hell, I don't know, Dan.
The one I don't know if we went over him, but let's do it a little bit. The highest riser of the group among 24/7 Sports was Chase Young. He went from being, I think he was a low 5-star to the number 4 overall ranked player.
Oh yeah, we have him 4 behind Leatherwood, yes. Well, I think you just, other people got to see him in person in pads. I'd seen Chase quite a few times and then watched him out on TV a few times. And then you just get around. He's going to be a captain. That's the kind of guy he is as well. I mean, he's just a leader. He's walking into one of the more talented defensive end rooms in America. So Larry Johnson's got a great problem on his hands. Where does he play when you even got guys like Jalen Holmes and Bosa who probably aren't starters? Would you agree? But they're going to play a lot. Hell, I don't even know. Like maybe
it's
there's
an incredible
4 guys
collection.
All right. That's right. And so where do you get snaps for him? Obviously you got to play him because I don't think he's good. He's the type of guy that's potentially 3 and done. So there's no reason to not. I mean, you play him, but. Where he's 6'5", 251. He's got maybe a couple more inches in him. He's a great listener. And we talked about this on previous Bucknuts Morning Fives with Chris Slade, was coaching the D-line at the Army Bowl, and Slade played in the NFL for a long time. Really smart guy out of Virginia. He's a high school football coach now. Just couldn't stop raving about the way Chase carried himself. He also said Chase is raw. He can be blocked right now because he's not always doing the right things fundamentally, but then there's times where you have no chance to block him, and that's a lot of times, no chance. And when he gets done, when Larry Johnson gets done with him, he is going to be one of the premier guys in college football.
Yeah, I agree with that. Especially, I'm sure everyone has had their angst with the approach NFL-wise, but give 24/7 credit here in the respect that if you're projecting for the NFL, edge pass rushers that look like young go in the top 5 if they're as good as they are. Myles Garrett would be your next example. So I think Chase getting down there and showing what he can do. And plus he comes from a great program in DeMatha. Everybody drink. It's in the D&D. So there you have it, people. Steve Wiltfong on the hot seat. How many other guys be willing to sit here and take these questions from a interested group of viewers? Keep in mind, Ohio State still has the highest per capita average per player in the class, so things are looking quite rosy. Steve, we appreciate you taking some time this fine morning.
I love coming on every Thursday, man. Look forward to it. Barely sleep. Appreciate you guys.
Have a good one, Bucknutters.